special on television tonight in Canada. Stéphane Ouellet and Davey Hilton for the Canadian middleweight crown, currently owned by Ouellet.
And again, don't be surprised if this comes down to basic stuff. Who's got the better chin? And I'm saying now, I think Hilton does. Even though he's the underdog here, he's the older guy. Hey, sentimental favorite? I would think it has to be Hilton. He's a guy who had 5 famous brothers that fought. Unfortunately, they all had some kind of tragic situations.
Right, some numbers for you in round number 1, and as you digest these numbers, we'll give you some numbers behind the numbers. Power punches in the round. Hilton was 0 for 2, and Ouellet 1 for 3. Ouellet did not throw a right hand in the round, a right hand power shot.
First round was a battle of jabs, and at least on my card, Ouellet probably won that battle. But it's not going to stay jabs for long.
And I saw it the other way.
Yes, and that's what makes boxing. And that's why sometimes the judges can drive you nuts. Sometimes it is a little too subjective. Talking earlier about sentimental favorite, 5 brothers have fought in this family. And you had Alex Matthew, who was a former world champion, won the IBF junior middleweight title in '87 over Buster Drayton. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, they had a brother Stuart who was killed in a car accident in the middle '80s. And a brother Jimmy, who never turned pro. Davey, the oldest of the brothers.
You see, Ouellet has defeated Alex Hilton twice. Ouellet has not been busy. This is only his 5th bout in the last 3 years. He said he simply has not been motivated, but he's focused now, and he says he has 3 years to realize his dream of winning a world championship.
He's taking the risk of taking this fight right here at this point. Makes sense. Look at the numbers. Look at this crowd. 15,000 people. You don't see crowds like this. You got to go back to when Vinny Pazienza used to bring him in Rhode Island, or Virgil Hill used to bring him in North Dakota. You do not see crowds like this, especially passionate crowds. Listen to them.
Chance of Davey and chance of Stéphane.
So far, it's been more of a jabbing contest. Most people did not think that. They thought it was going to be 2 guys colliding. But they're both boxing. They're both weary of each other a little bit for different reasons.
Good jab there by Ouellet.
Ouellet for the reason that he has to protect his chin a little bit. Hilton for the reason that, of course, you know, he's not a real middleweight. This is a guy who started as a welterweight. He has to pick his spots a little bit.
There's the bell to end round number 2. Davey Hilton from the Fighting Hilton family. His brother Matthew, the former IBF junior middleweight champion. And let's take a look at Matthew Hilton in action. A Matthew Hilton flashback against Buster Drayton right here in Montreal. Hilton wins the fight and captures the IBF junior middleweight championship back in 1987.
Yeah, Davey Hilton was a big banger. Wide puncher, you could see there, but he was able to get to a world title with being strong, big dynamite in his left hook. And when he did in that fight, he dropped Buster Drayton in the first round and then stayed on him and smothered him and won a 15-round decision. And he was on top of the world. Now look at all those fans. I mean, the Hiltons were so famous in this town. And you know what? Years later, I guess they still are. At least one of them anyway.
Well, there is Davey Hilton with his trainer Chuck Kalami, and they've been working on certain things like bending the knees, shortening some of Davey's punches.
Yeah, like being harder to hit. Chuck Kalami trained Davey in Miami for this fight. And of course, he replaces who used to be at his, when he was, you know, at his heyday. Used to be his trainer was Davey Hilton Sr., his father. But he no longer has anything to do with the career of Davey.
Punch numbers in round number 2. They both landed the same amount, but Ouellet busier. Ouellet outlanded Hilton jab-wise, 18-13.
Davey Hilton's father, I mean, the brothers all fought for a reason. The father turned pro in '58, was a Canadian featherweight champ. In his 6th fight, he was a pro for 18 years.
Oh, now they're opening it up a little bit.
You knew this was coming. You knew this was coming. Not going to stay at battle jab for long. But in all honesty, whoever sticks with the jab probably has a better chance of controlling the fight.
left hand by Hilton.
Hilton has a little bit more weight to carry around than Ouellet. And maybe that's why he fights a little bit more spotty. Wants to pace himself a little bit more than Ouellet has been pacing himself. Just look at him, you can see he really shouldn't be a middleweight.
Hilton feels the chin of Ouellet is suspect. You see him landing double jabs. Good body shot by Ouellet.
Ouellet's picking the spots without leaving himself open. And that's exactly what his fight plan is. You can see it. He's not rushing into nothing. And I think that this fight will be dangerous for Ouellet all the way through.
The left hand to the body. And again, Ouellet cautioned for a low blow.
That may have been clean, I'm not sure, but Hilton does what experienced guy does. Moved his cup a little bit, his trunks up, like to tell the referee, hey, a little low there. Get any edge you can if you're experienced.
See, Hilton, earlier in his career, got things done at a quicker pace. His last 19 bouts have gone 132 rounds. Of course, as you go on in your career, you start facing better competition, and thus you have longer fights.
You talk about fighting bloodlines, 5 brothers fought. Father, you talk about fighting bloodlines, 5 brothers fought. Father that fought an 18-year pro career. Even his brother-in-law is a fighter, Arturo Gatti, former world champion who's getting ready for his rematch against Ivan Robinson.
Final seconds of round number 3. Another fairly even round. Good body shot by Stefan Ouellet. Hilton answers.
Coast-to-coast marathon here on ESPN Classic.
Steady, round number 4 underway. So far through the first 3, Hilton and Ouellet, what have you taken from it?
Well, it's been a boxing lesson. Both guys are a little bit worried, a little leery of giving themselves a little bit of an opening there. They're both being careful. I think it's going to warm up a lot. I have it 3 rounds to none for Ouellet, but it could be a lot closer than that because those last 2 rounds were very close. Could have went either way. Could have even had an even round there.
All right, let's take a look at some jab numbers through the first 3 rounds of this fight, and you see that Ouellet has been busier, but he has not been that much more accurate. Hilton has been effective so far in the fight. Overall, Ouellet has thrown 76 more punches, but has only landed 1 more. A very even bout. I gave Hilton round 1 to make the argument either way. Oh, good shot by Ouellet.
You can see Ouellet's fight plan. Keep Hilton at the end of the jab. Don't leave himself too liable. Don't leave himself open. Work off the end of the jab at that distance. He doesn't want to be real close with Hilton. Hilton wants to be close, but he hasn't figured out a way to do it yet. And I think in the back of his mind, he's worried about expending too much energy pressing the fight early.
Well, Hilton has told anybody that will listen that he will knock Ouellet out. Right now, he's not landed many tremendous shots as he hooks to the body.
It can hurt you a lot when you think a guy has a susceptible chin. Because what happens is you go in there, you're looking for the knockout, and you're not doing the basic, fundamental things you do to stay in the fight and to set up that knockout punch. You should never think I'm going to knock a guy out. Sugar Ray Leonard in his rematch with Hearns thought that. And it didn't happen, and it really hurt him. You're looking for the knockout, you're not jabbing, you're not putting punches together.
Hilton blocking a lot of those shots. Remember, we are in a 20,000-seat arena. There are over 15,000 fans on hand. Every time good punches are thrown, fans sitting way up high think they may have been landed, so you'll hear the roar.
Pretty standard here so far. What you see is what you get. Ouellet that jab all the time, trying to keep Hilton at the end of it. Not taking too much risk of getting into Hilton's punching room. Hilton wants to get into that punching room.
And not a very active round for Davey Hilton. Right hand from Ouellet. And good round for Stefan Ouellet.